I've had the M1 iMac 24-inch for the past 3 to 4 weeks, and I've been using it for my daily pro work and some productivity tasks. So what do I think of it? Well, chin up and I'll tell you. Hello everyone, my name's Mike, and here at Tech Moon I uncover Apple tech and Apple related tech, so hit that subscribe button if that's what you're into. So let's talk about the model that I got and the models that you can get, and later I'll go through my recommendations, so keep watching. The model I have here is the 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU M1 chip with 512GB of SSD storage and 8GB of unified memory. This will set you back £1,649, but you can go for a 256GB version for only £1,449, and then you can get the M1 with one fewer GPU cores for only £1,249. However, this model is missing a few bits, which I'll get into later. So let's start with the topic that got people excited and raging all over the internet. The design. So when I first opened it, I didn't like it. I couldn't see it fitting into my desk setup, but after that, I remembered that not everyone has a 32-inch and 27-inch dual monitor setup. I actually could see this working in a dorm room or a desk or even a kitchen island, as you only have one cable and the colors could be part of your interior design. The back of the iMac has this really saturated blue, along with all the other colors that are pretty bold and looks nice actually in my opinion. And then it has this nice sort of muted aluminium stand, which again I think looks really nice. It has these two long rubber feet which aren't really the grippiest, but definitely keeps it in place, but still loose enough that you can sort of move the screen in either direction quite easily. The front is made of this glass, which apparently is anti-reflective, but it's still reflective. I mean, it's not as reflective as the old iMacs, but it still is a little bit reflective. Now, yes, we still have the white bezels with the chin with no logo, which some people think is just backwards, but we know that Apple are trying to differentiate their pro and consumer lines with these colors, and I can see how these iMacs are just fun to have at home. The white bezels, in my opinion, aren't for me, but I think in a home it could work really well, like in a living room where I think it would just blend in better. And what goes well with the iMac is CleanMyMac X, today's sponsor. CleanMyMac X is one of the first applications that I install on my Mac, as it's like having 10 applications in one. With its smart scan feature, it removes junk files, gets rid of any nasty malware, and runs scripts with just one button. There are even tools to help you tune your Mac for maximum performance and to lessen the load on your computer. And now that it's optimized for M1 and Apple Silicon, it works even better. You can remove a ton of clutter that hides in iTunes, Mail, Photos, and even locate gigabytes of large hidden files, which has been so useful for me, as it's just so hard to find them yourself when you're digging around in Finder. The same way that you would service your car, CleanMyMac X is a service for your Mac. Go ahead and check out the link down in the description. Thank you CleanMyMac X for sponsoring this part of the video. The chin is covered in this pastel coloured glass, which I'm not a fan of, and I would have preferred an aluminium chin with the same colour as the aluminium stand on the iMac, as I think those colours make a good contrast to the back of the iMac, which in my opinion I think looks really nice. The no logo did take a little bit to get used to, but now I don't even think about it. The stand that holds this thing up doesn't really have much movement. It just tilts, which is pretty limiting. I wish it could go up and down, because now I would have to get a riser as it's not quite eye level. You can, just to let you know, get a VESA mount option, and you can pair it with a VESA stand, which I would say is a better way to go for ergonomics and even style depending on the stand that you go for. However, you cannot switch it back to the stand option if you go for the VESA model, and vice versa. This iMac is thin, like really thin. Comparing it to an iPad Pro or even an iPhone, I just can't believe how thin this thing is. Taking around the iMac, we have 4 USB-C ports, with 2 of them being Thunderbolt, meaning you get 2 ports that deliver 40 gigabits per second each, and then you have 2 other ports giving you 5 gigabits per second each. Now, if you go for the base model, you only get the 2 Thunderbolt ports, so depending on how many peripherals you connect up, then this could be either an issue or a non-issue. you get a physical button at the back, and you also get a headphone jack in the side of the iMac because the iMac is too thin to have one in the back. Now, powering this iMac is a 143 watt power adapter that magnetically connects to the back of the iMac. The magnets are strong and can almost hold the weight of the iMac, so I don't think this is like MagSafe where you'll just be able to pop it out. If you trip on this cable, because of how strong the magnets are and obviously how light the iMac is, your iMac is going down with it. On the power adapter, you get a gigabit Ethernet port, but on the base model, you don't get this option. However, if you need the Ethernet port, you can just add it for just £30 on the base model. For me, I use Wi-Fi for everything, as it's just so fast nowadays for what I need. But if you have a NAS server that you want to connect to, unfortunately, you are stuck with gigabit Ethernet, no 10 gig option just yet. But we might see this come to the iMac like we did see on the M1 Mac Mini later down the line. Now, it wouldn't be an iMac review if I didn't take a look at the keyboard and mouse. First, let's start with the mouse and trackpad. Nothing has really changed except for the fact that now you can get them color matched to your iMac. The colors look nice, but the mouse still suffers from the same charging bottom issue. Also, I know that some people absolutely love the Magic Mouse, but I tried this for a week, and once you have used the Logitech MX Master 3 mouse, you really can't go back. My recommendation would actually to be buying the trackpad over the mouse. The keyboard though has got a few nice changes. Aesthetically, it has got the same color treatment, which looks nice, and then it has the rounded corners, which I don't think looks nice. Gone is the white glossy plastic at the bottom of the keyboard, which used to scratch up so much and I think would hold up better for daily use. But the key feature is that Touch ID. Now, you only get this with the mid or top spec iMac, or if you go into the options on the base model, you can actually change the keyboard option and then select the Touch ID, which will set you back an extra $50 on top of the base model price. It's really useful, especially coming from a Touch ID MacBook, but it's definitely not as fast to my eye as the MacBook. But this could be because of the secure enclave in the keyboard, which takes a moment to process and then send that all okay signal to the iMac. The keyboard feels nice as you would expect. However, the keys are not backlit, which is a shame. I still don't know why they don't offer a backlit version of this keyboard, even though in some of the marketing material, there were people using this thing in the dark. Don't know how you would with a non-backlit keyboard. They also have a numpad version if that's what you're into. Now, let's take a look at the front of this thing because there's a lot to digest. So housed around this white bezel goodness, depending on some people, is a fantastic 4.5K Retina display. It features wide P3 color support and is very accurate out the box. There is a little bit of light back bleed that I noticed, but it's, to be honest, hardly noticeable, and it'll be fine for photo and video editing. I actually have been using the 24-inch iMac to edit most of my videos for the past sort of few weeks, and it's been crushing it, which is a good transition to performance. I mean, this thing has the M1 chip, so what can I say that you don't already know? Every M1 Mac has basically got the same performance, and yes, this iMac probably has the best cooling, so you do get a few % more performance under heavy extended workloads than others, but unless you have them side by side, you're not going to notice the difference. This does mean, however, that this will be able to edit all of your hundreds of raw photos and images really fast, and for 4K video editing, it has never been easier at this price point. For me, even though the M1 chip is powerful, I just wish it had that little bit more power, as I tend to run 3 to 4 streams of 4K as a multicam clip, and I'm still unable to get smooth playback. However, a lot of computers would struggle at this price point, to be fair. Having 16GB of unified memory would have helped with this instead of 8. And as I'm talking about unified memory, same as before with any M1 machine, if you can afford it, go for the 16GB of unified memory, and especially if you plan to keep it for more than 5 or 6 years, then definitely go for the 16GB of unified memory. Also, if you do heavy multitasking with 20+ tabs while running intensive applications, also go for the 16GB of unified memory. If you are someone who plans to use Microsoft Office and have multiple internet tabs open, then I would actually say the 8GB would be more than enough for you. even with an external display. I will say though, if you have a 4K external display that you plan on running with this, just be aware that the performance does drop. So I wouldn't recommend this setup with things like video editing and heavy code compiling. I found that my playback was pretty choppy with a 4K external display while trying to obviously run this 4.5K display. It was just all over the place. Definitely go for the 16 gigabytes, as I just think that, yeah, 8 gigabytes is just too much to run both those displays. Otherwise, just get a 1080p external display and 8 gigabytes is fine with that. Now, I was able to get the fans going on the iMac with my workflows. If you felt underneath the iMac chin, you can actually feel the heat coming off of that M1, and that M1 definitely can get hot. Just to let you guys know, the base model iMac doesn't have the heat pipe or second fan like this model does, meaning that the base model does get hotter. But I wouldn't worry about it too much though, as Apple have always leaned towards running their chips between sort of 90 to 99 degrees to reduce fan noise, and the old Macs still run fine today, and those Intel Macs used to run extremely hot almost all the time. This thing was pretty much cool most of the time until you sort of hit it hard for an extended period, then it does get hot. If you haven't checked out my video on the webcam, speaker and microphone test on all the M1 machines compared, then I'll leave a link down in the description below. But here is a test of that on the M1 iMac. We have the iMac 24-inch, and this has got the 1080p webcam, and this is just a test to see how the microphones and obviously the image quality is. So in terms of the lighting setup, we've currently got my studio lights set to its standard setting that you see on my YouTube videos. So this is going to be some of the best lighting, obviously with that nice dark background. So you guys let me know how it looks, but we're going to now stress test this webcam to see how it looks in different situations. So now we've got all the lights off except for obviously the lights in the background. So this is a huge stress test on the webcam just to see obviously how it's going to handle. Okay, so now we've got the main light on. So this is sort of a typical, I guess, setting. So again, all the blinds are down and everything like that, but this is just one light on with obviously lights in the background. Again, see how the dynamic range is with everything. So again, see how this light is handling it, see how this light is handling it in terms of the dynamic range. And then let's move on to the final test. And here is sort of the typical streaming setup almost. So we've got one light just over here to sort of light me up. So you might have like an Elgato or something like that. So again, this sort of to represent that, if you've got a little light in the corner and then maybe a dark background or something like you would typically see in a streaming setup. So see how this handles it, see how the skin tones are, see how the noise is in the background. Again, like I said, this is 1080p. And obviously let me know how the microphone is, because obviously I've been speaking throughout the whole thing. Let me know down in the comments below. Overall, the M1 iMac 24-inch is a great machine, just like any other M1 computer. If you are looking for a fast desktop machine that can handle professional workflow, you really can't go wrong with this. My recommendation would be to go for the mid-spec model, not only because you get the extra things like Ethernet, 2 extra USB-C ports, and better cooling with those 2 fans, and obviously that faster GPU, but also for its resale value. You will get more money and potentially more likely to shift it with this machine than you are with the base model. But just like with any M1 machine, it still has the same shortcomings as any other M1 machine. So the graphical performance still isn't, you know, fantastic. It's good for this kind of computer, but it's still not fantastic. So be aware that this machine isn't anything special. It's just an M1 in its desktop form. But there we have it. As always, this is a discussion, so please leave a comment down below on whether you picked one up or if you're planning on getting one. Also, check out the links down in the description to support the channel. If you haven't already, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TechCarmoon. Drop me a like in this video if you've enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. But if you want to see more from me right now, you guys know what to do. There are 2 videos right over here. Go ahead, click it. You'll absolutely enjoy it. Anyway, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.